In the last 10 years, America's national debt has more than doubled. It currently stands at $40 trillion. That's substantially larger than GDP. Despite efforts to curb federal spending early last year, expenditures have continued to outpace revenue at a dangerous rate. While the federal government has a lot to answer for in terms of deficit spending, so do the states. Some of the most shocking examples of waste and abuse we find involve federally funded programs administered at the state level. By and large, many states have not proven to be worthy stewards of the federal funds. And far too often in recent years, Oklahoma has been part of the problem. By federal mandate, my team and I audit all of Oklahoma's federal grant programs with expenditures above $30 million. We submit our findings every year in the federal single audit. This audit is to ensure that federal grant money is spent in compliance with federal guidelines. And when we identify expenditures at risk of non-compliance or worse, we label them as question cost. Question costs are any expenditures that do not comply with federal statutes, regulations, or terms of conditions, lack supporting documentation such as itemized invoices or other records, or appear unreasonable. The reason why this is so important is that the U.S. government can demand a refund from the state of Oklahoma for every dollar of question cost. Furthermore, when state agencies do not address the underlying causes for question cost, they leave taxpayers exposed to waste, fraud, and abuse. For expenditures dating to the fiscal year of 2024, question cost totaled close to $25 million. Now, just to put this in perspective, before the pandemic, Oklahoma's question costs were routinely averaged around $5 million per year. After the pandemic, the average has been closer to $30 million per year. Question costs peaked at $93 million in fiscal year 23 when COVID spending also reached a high point. However, while expenditures are leveling off, the risk of waste, fraud, and abuse is as high as ever. The risk remains as high as ever because the warnings we have given each year for the last 4 years have been ignored in many agencies. I'm going to walk through some of the most significant question costs, especially those associated with DHS, the Department of Human Services. At DHS, weak controls and lack of proper oversight for entitlement programs led to $15 million in question cost. I will also address the findings for ODMHSAS, the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, where question costs totaled more than $6 million, as well as those for OMES, the Office of Management and Enterprise Services, where we found nearly $4 million in question cost. What our findings for fiscal year 24 underscore are that a handful of state actors have once again left millions of taxpayer dollars at risk of waste, fraud, and abuse. Take, for instance, what we found at DHS. 3 months ago, a former DHS employee was indicted for misappropriating almost $2 million, largely from LIHEAP, that's the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. Our single audit team originally blew the whistle on this issue. During testing for the year's single audit, we flagged 2 questionable payments, both of which were made out to the same utility company. What initially caught our attention was the fact that these payments had no up-to-date application. That's important because a LIHEAP application is only valid during a limited enrollment period. Recipients must submit a new application for heating assistance every winter, for instance. The fact that these questionable payments could not be linked with a proper application or any other required document was a serious red flag for the case notes. Case notes provide additional details and history on an application and its recipient. The case notes shocked us. The recipients listed had not applied for LIHEAP in more than 10 years. Thanks to the information uncovered by our auditors, DHS began an investigation. And according to DHS investigators, one former employee appeared to have misappropriated roughly $2 million from LIHEAP and LIWAP, the Low-Income Household Water Assistance Program, between 2018 and 2024. While DHS moved quickly, DHS could have and likely would have prevented this with proper checks and balances. The employee was the main full-time LIHEAP program administrator, meaning he was the primary gatekeeper for all LIHEAP applications. He also had access to and control over LIHEAP's financial system. The employee appears to have used his position to access expired applications and approve payments under the name of former LIHEAP recipients. In at least one example, the original LIHEAP recipient was deceased, yet no one noticed the account was reactivated. The employee also appears to have altered addresses and bank account information for utility vendors. This seems to have enabled him to reroute payments into his own personal bank accounts. This abuse of taxpayer funds was 100% preventable. Program administration and financial duties should have been divided between multiple individuals, or some type of monitoring controls should have been put into place. Both DHS and the Attorney General acted quickly once we brought the situation to light, and the employee is now facing a felony indictment. What the situation highlights is that DHS did not have an effective system in place to detect potential fraud within LIHEAP and LIWAP. Unfortunately, these programs are not outliers at DHS. Last year, we told you that more than $51 million in child care development funds had been mismanaged due to DHS's failure to establish proper financial guardrails for the child care services. This year, we can confirm that an additional $14.5 million in child care funds was mismanaged by the agency. These amounts include waste and abuse and possible fraudulent activity. As we told you last year, the risk of waste, fraud, and abuse are dramatically due to the infusion of COVID relief dollars into Oklahoma. DHS's regular child care subsidies rose between 2021 and 2024, when they peaked at more than $223 million. In addition to these payments, the feds also gave Oklahoma hundreds of millions of additional COVID money. However, these numbers don't tell the whole story. That's because DHS is drawing a significant amount of child care funding from TANF, that's the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. Most people associate TANF with direct assistance. In reality, only a fraction of the funds are allocated for that purpose. In 2024, just 4% of TANF expenditures were distributed as direct benefit payments. Yet by 2024, we were already seeing a dramatic rise in TANF's total expenditures. All this begs the question, where are the TANF funds going? The vast majority of TANF dollars are funneled directly to nonprofits, consulting firms, and other businesses for a variety of services. Most of the additional TANF spending we've seen in recent years is being distributed to child care providers, many of whom became dependent on higher federal subsidies during the pandemic. Now, more than 6 years after COVID hit, at a time of rising inflation, when Oklahoma is facing significant deficits for Medicaid, SNAP, and mental health services, we are continuing to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to child care centers every year. DHS costs for child care services peaked in fiscal year 23, but they remained above $400 million in 2024. However, we have no way of knowing whether many of the child care centers are providing the services they claim because DHS has not provided proper oversight. The fact is, the risk of fraud within child care services in Oklahoma is extremely high. We had identified 3 alarming patterns. First, DHS's existing subsidy verification controls are inadequate. The agency does not have a robust monitoring system in place that flags cases where there is a high risk of fraud or identifies fraudulent activity within child care services. Second, DHS did not implement adequate check-in procedures at child care facilities, which put daycare owners and parents on the honor system. The honor system is the opposite of oversight. In some cases, child care centers were paid to care for children who were in school at the time. Third, DHS failed to conduct required health and safety inspections during overnight hours and did not ensure that children were safe and in attendance as claimed by the providers. These gaping holes within DHS's internal controls came at a time when some daycare centers stood to double the amount of taxpayer money they could make every month due to the infusion of pandemic relief funds and the implementation of emergency rules. Now, I want to be clear. Child care facilities are very important to Oklahoma, and we have great providers across the state. However, what we are emphasizing is that DHS does not have adequate guardrails to weed out bad financial actors and verify that all subsidy payments are accurate. First, subsidy verification. While DHS conducts a limited review of attendance data for a small sample of child care centers, the agency is not reconciling subsidy payments against attendance and enrollment data in a rigorous and systematic manner, which would enable it to identify fraud. We found a substantial amount of questionable activity that had gone undetected by DHS. For example, for the better part of 2 years, one child care center was paid to accommodate nearly twice the number of children that it was licensed to serve. That is a situation that DHS should have flagged for review. Instead, the agency handed millions of taxpayer dollars to the daycare owner without a proper, systematic review of attendance or enrollment data. This example is not an outlier. For almost a quarter of the facilities tested, the number of children claimed for subsidy purposes significantly exceeded the facility's licensing capacity. The number of children marked as present during a routine DHS visit, or both. Failure to verify payments against attendance records impacted other programs as well. For the Child Care Desert Grant Program, providers could obtain $5,000 per child to support new or expanding facilities by submitting attendance records and actual enrollment data. However, DHS did not even bother to obtain attendance records for at least 31 child care facilities in our test sample. We also found numerous problems with the enrollment forms that many daycares submitted. For instance, there were duplicate forms for some children, as well as forms for children who hadn't been born yet, both circumstances that artificially inflated actual enrollment numbers. Our most recent findings for the Child Care Desert Grant Program reinforce what we reported last year. The program was administered so poorly by DHS that we ultimately had to question approximately 95% of all Desert Grant dollars tested for this year's report. To date, we have questioned more than $24 million for this one program over a 2-year period. Another concern is that DHS has not properly enforced required check-in and check-out procedures as parents drop off and pick up their children. The child could have been left at daycare. The child could have been 100 miles away. Either way, there's no way DHS could have known. This is important because a daycare's daily check-in data determines how much money in subsidy payments the facility will receive for that day. Furthermore, during COVID, DHS modified check-in procedures to conform to new emergency rules. In its newsletter, DHS acknowledged there was an enhanced risk of fraud surrounding some new procedures, specifically those involving school-age children, but the agency did not establish any monitoring or enforcement system to mitigate that risk. Instead, DHS left daycare owners on the honor system, even though some stood to gain an additional hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxpayer subsidies. Again, I want to stress, many providers are doing their best to comply with procedures accurately. But at the same time, it's very easy for bad actors to game the system. For instance, many parents use digital app to check children into daycare or to revise attendance records. That digital app is not equipped with a geofencing mechanism. That means check-in data, which translates automatically into dollar amounts for the daycares, can be manipulated and revised at any time within a 10-day window from any location by any person who has access to the parent's device and login information. We can also confirm that check-in data is full of irregularities, including questionable timestamps. Some of the most concerning timestamp patterns were associated with parents who worked for the daycare owners or were family members of the daycare owners. Again, DHS had not flagged any of the examples we found, even though there were possible conflicts of interest in multiple cases. Troubled by our initial conclusions, we conducted additional test work and identified more than $1.2 million in overpayments or possible fraudulent activity. This is a very conservative number. The scope of the single audit, defined legally by the federal government, is extremely limited, and it does not permit us to conduct a deep dive investigation as we would do in the case of a special investigative audit. $1.2 million in overpayments and possible fraud within a single audit report signals that there is likely a very serious, widespread issue within a federal program. Even with the limited test work we were allowed to conduct, the risk of fraud is pervasive. Nearly 1/3 of the child care facilities tested were implicated in this one finding. Of particular concern were daycares providing care during overnight hours. For roughly 89% of facilities operating overnight, DHS conducted 0 on-site visits between the hours of 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. We do not know if children were in attendance. We do not know what kind of conditions existed within these daycares overnight. We do not even know if the children were safe and well treated. Many parents work night shifts. They rely on DHS to ensure that overnight daycares are safe. Without site visits, there is no way to confirm that daycares are operating in a responsible manner during overnight hours. DHS's failure to provide oversight to child care services was a missed opportunity. The goal of these grants was to help working mothers and fathers gain access to child care so that they could get back to work. Yet the continued shortage of child care in many counties is a factor that makes it difficult for many, especially for women, to remain in the workforce. And when individuals are unable to work for any reason, they are going to apply for TANF and SNAP and other entitlement programs. And that expense falls back on the taxpayer. One of the most shocking examples of waste we uncovered pertains to the Child Care Desert Grant, which I mentioned earlier. The program was originally meant to expand access to child care in counties that could not meet the demand. Altogether, almost 20 million tax dollars, close to 1/3 of all Desert Grant expenditures, went to child care centers that have since permanently closed their doors. We spent almost $68 million on the Desert Grant program. But according to DHS's annual reports, we saw a decrease of 103 providers in desert counties from 2023 to 2025, and a net decrease in total capacity in desert counties over that same period. The fact is, DHS did not prioritize accountability within this program, and we have seen no meaningful long-term expansion of child care in the state, in spite of the tens of millions of dollars that were given to the providers. We know, based on findings in other states, that daycare fraud is a nationwide issue. But the single audit's not designed to uncover fraud. It was designed for federal reporting purposes. Our findings demonstrate that there is an urgent need for a special investigative audit of DHS child care services. However, my team cannot act unless we receive a request from the DHS director, the governor, the attorney general, or another official. If nothing is done, the situation will only get worse. That means Oklahomans will have fewer resources for other programs moving forward. Make no mistake, Oklahoma is going to face federal cuts in coming years, and that will exacerbate the financial difficulties that we are seeing with mental health services, Medicaid, and SNAP. As we reported in February, Oklahomans stand to lose more than $236 million in SNAP funding each year if it cannot reduce its payment error rate. The payment error rate measures the accuracy of SNAP eligibility decisions within each state. SNAP expenditures surged during COVID, and beginning in October 2027, the federal government will slash SNAP benefits for states that have a payment error rate of 6% or higher. States will be required to finance the difference. Oklahoma's payment error rate's around 11%. That's the orange line running across the columns. Many of you reported on the fact that our payment error rate for fiscal year 25 increased once again. Every taxpayer should be very concerned about this issue. If SNAP expenditures remain consistent, moving forward, we are looking at close to $1.7 billion in total annual cost. That is broken down between administrative cost and benefits. We already know that Oklahoma is going to have to pay a higher percentage of admin costs beginning this year, no matter what. Oklahoma will pay close to $100 million just for SNAP administrative expenses in coming years. That new rule applies to all states, irrespective of the payment error rate, and legislators have already had to carve out additional resources in the 27 budget for these admin costs. The penalties for payment error rates, on the other hand, apply to cost for SNAP benefits. The higher the payment error rate, the more a state will have to pay. If we can get the payment error rate below 6%, then we may not have to pay any financial penalties. If the rate falls under 8%, Oklahoma's share of SNAP benefits will be approximately $79 million. If DHS can get the payment error rate below 10%, then we'll have to pay around $157 million. But if we cannot get our rate below 10%, then Oklahomans will have to pay more than $236 million in SNAP benefits. One thing I can say is that DHS is working to put strong internal controls in place. According to the agency, the data for new cases approved since the implementation of DHS improved controls is very promising. However, older applications where we are seeing more inaccuracy are still going to influence that payment error rate. And we have to be prepared to pull funds from elsewhere in the budget to cover additional SNAP benefits. That cost could fall anywhere between $100 million and $337 million, depending on where the payment error rate for 2026 lands. While I remain extremely concerned about how Oklahoma will pay these penalties if they are applied, I want to applaud Director Cartmell and his team for treating this situation with the appropriate urgency in recent months. I also want to emphasize that what we are facing with SNAP cost, as well as mismanagement of child care funds, are the consequences of decisions made under prior leadership at DHS. DHS is one of our largest and most complex agencies, and all things considered, Director Cartmell is doing a commendable job of addressing the fallout from mistakes made by a prior director. The same could be said of OMES, the Office of Management and Enterprise Services. The current director and his team are implementing much needed reforms. However, they are continuing to deal with the consequences of prior leadership's mismanagement of the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. The $3.8 million in question cost we identified for OMES this year is largely a continuation of issues we have reported on in the previous years, including the potential clawback of a substantial amount of federal funds. Along with Director Wood and his team, we are continuing to monitor this ongoing issue. The last finding I have to share with you relates to ARPA funds, specifically funds allocated to the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. In 2022, the Oklahoma legislature appropriated $87 million for a new state hospital. The proposed Donahue Behavioral Health Campus was to replace the existing Griffith Memorial in Norman. The Department of Mental Health ultimately incurred more than $6 million in expenses, all related to design and planning. They then abandoned the Donahue project due to the rise of construction costs and bought and renovated another building. The Department of Mental Health could not provide any documentation or other evidence that they had adequately evaluated the Donahue project's long-term feasibility. Specifically, there is no evidence that they adequately explored the possible impact of rising construction costs before investing taxpayer dollars into the design of this new facility. The result was that taxpayers paid more than $6 million and received no benefit from the investment. The $6 million was in addition to the almost $30 million that taxpayers had to pay in order to bail out the mental health department out of its budget crisis last year. This is the fourth year in a row I have stood here and sounded the alarm that Oklahoma needs to get its financial house in order or pay serious consequences. Those consequences are not a question of if, but when. These problems are easily fixable. I expect journalists here today will report what we found. My hope is that tomorrow, state leaders will dig into this report and start looking for ways to improve our largest state agencies. As state auditor, my team and I stand ready to assist and provide any documentation requested of us. At this time, I'm happy to take any questions you might have. Yes.
Can you explain or kind of clarify why this audit comes so many years after the question costs actually occurred? This is for fiscal year 2024, I believe you said.
Yes, it is for fiscal year 24. First, I would want to point to the fact that prior to COVID, we only spent around $7 billion in federal expenditures each year. Now we're spending $14 billion. But we've also had a lot of difficulties in state agencies being able to administer these funds, which has resulted in more findings. It's taken the audit a lot longer. But even prior to that, the auditor can't audit until we are given the financial statements and the CFA. The CFA is the Schedule of Expenditures of Federal Awards. So until OMES gives us those financial statements, we can't start the audit. And because there's been a lot of institutional knowledge left through attrition and not being able to find accountants, not just in Oklahoma, but across the nation, it's been very difficult to get those financial statements prepared. Yes?
We hear about these audits all the time, but where are the guardrails to prevent to getting here today?
Well, that's a great question. Federal law does mandate that guidelines be put in place to safeguard the funds. Again, I would point to the increased turnover that we've seen in our largest agencies that are responsible for stewarding these funds, and the knowledge is not there and the leadership is not there to enforce that. I think that these largest agencies that are administering billions of federal dollars, that's my call to action. We've got to get something done. I want to give a shout out to Representative Strom last year, who led the charge for 8 accountability bills. Before it was done, it was a bipartisan and bicameral effort with many authors signing on along the way, and it passed almost unanimously in the House and the Senate. So we should start to see some of these things tapering off. But again, I'm thankful for that help, and that's a great first step, but there are more steps needed. Yes?
So by what you're saying, it sounds like the executive and legislative branches at the state level are not heeding your advice and your findings.
Well, to be clear, only the executive branch can spend the money. And so the onus falls on the executive branch for how they are administering those funds. The legislators, many of them are very concerned with this issue, and the laws are already written to put these procedures in place. It's just a matter of the largest state agencies not adequately implementing them.
When you said we went from $7 billion in federal funding before COVID and $14 billion now, when you say now, are you talking about during COVID or even up until FY26-27?
Even up until fiscal year 25-26, we're still seeing close to $14 billion.
And that should be coming back down.
It should, yes. And we will start to see that probably taper off some, but we haven't seen any spending cuts at the federal level, so that's all still coming down to us. The $7 billion that was prior to COVID quickly increased to $14 billion, and I want to point out it's expenditures, not revenue. So the federal government bases this report on expenditures. So while we were spending $7 billion previously, we are spending $14 billion a year now. And one of the questions I have for citizens as I visit with them across the state is, do you feel any better off for the additional $7 billion a year we are spending for services?
Can I follow up?
Sure.
So we talked about $25 million in question cost on average before, and now we're at $30 million after COVID.
Let me correct you on that. $5 million in average question cost prior to 2020. Now we are averaging $30 million a year in question cost, with a spike last year of $93 million, I believe was the amount. Did that answer everything?
Well, I was wondering if some of that might be explained by the fact that we've doubled from 7 billion to 14 billion. And another question is if you feel like that some of the requirements or the federal programming has been flawed against to set states up for failure in some ways.
I do not believe that the requirements are overly stringent. The federal government just wants documentation of how you spent the money. And I would say that's the biggest problem here in Oklahoma, documenting how we are spending this money and exactly what services we're getting back. As the auditor, and I'm sure my audit team would echo this, if we sometimes can't determine what services we got that we paid for, that's a problem. We need to be able to verify that we actually got something for the money. So documentation is critical. I don't think that it's too much to ask someone who's receiving a federal dollar to prove what it's being spent for. And the uptick in question cost, even though we've doubled our expenditures, I would say that any amount of question costs that we can't verify provided services back to the taxpayers is a problem, regardless of dollar amount. We can do better than that, and our citizens deserve better than that. So, yes.
Can you clarify what federal feedback or rulings, I guess, have been made? We talked about the last couple of years, these fiscal years, this could trigger the federal, the Fed to demand money back.
Yes, so the federal government is still working on fiscal year 21, so they are behind in looking at some of these reports, but there is an ongoing conversation with state departments, state agencies on clawback issues.
When do you think some of that may come to light?
I would expect that very soon. Specifically with the emergency rental assistance program, that is one that the federal government has been very interested in, and that's the one that really lacked documentation. So I would expect to start hearing something on that.
Can you just clarify that the federal government has or has not yet asked for clawbacks for these past?
The federal government has asked for money. Well, they've asked for money back, and what that triggers is an additional review. So they have an independent party come in, review our work, review documentation, somewhat as a mediator, just to make sure that there's one more set of eyes on it, verifying the documentation. And from everything I've read, they've agreed with what we've reported. That's why I'm saying it's probably coming.
And for, you said that they're still on fiscal year 2021, so they've up to that fiscal year, they've requested clawbacks and they're still working on it.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Is there any kind of statute of limitations on that?
That would be, it would have to be a federal issue, but I don't know that the federal government's going to give you a statute of limitations on that. Again, outside of the scope of what my responsibilities are, but good question.
a good conclusion from fiscal year 2024 that this time the numbers of question costs slowed but are still mounting.
Would you repeat that question, please?
You say that between last year's report, you had a fiscal year 2023, and then this year's a fiscal year 2024, the question costs didn't increase as much but are still mounting?
Yes, the total is still mounting, but the amount this year was substantially lower than it was last year. And keep in mind, last year's question costs were largely due to the Child Care Desert Grant Program. So, and those were one-time funds, so it spiked last year.
Last year's audit found, like you said, much higher question costs, but with similar programs. And as you said, this was usually mostly during past administrations. So since last year, since Director Cardinal can't go back and change what happened, have they made changes to correct this, correct these guardrails for future years?
In some instances that we can say yes. I did give Director Cartmel a shout out to say that he's doing a commendable job on trying to get some of these things straightened out. Keep in mind, we're not going back and re-auditing what we've already reported. We let the federal government know what has happened because this is in fact the audit they request that we do based on their requirements, and it would be up to them to go back to see if additional things, as those audits fall out into future years, we'll go back and look at controls to see if things have been improved. And for what we've seen at this point, I do want to say that he is trying his best to correct things. Yes?
I know you kind of touched on it already, but for anyone who's at home watching this or hearing our stories later about, okay, there's a lot of information here, but what comes next? What do people do to get this fixed, or for taxpayers to feel like their money is not being wasted?
They need to vote tomorrow. Things get fixed at the ballot box. You've got to be involved in government. You've got to have your voice heard. You've got to demand accountability. That's one of the reasons why I'm standing here before you today. I see our national debt continue to increase, and it's very worrisome. And opportunities for this next generation seem limited compared to what I had at that age. We only control that through controlling our spending and making sure that money we are taking from taxpayers is delivering back real services, not being gained by bad actors. Yes?
One more. When presenting last year's alarming numbers, you said your office also needed more resources in the future for these kind of audits. Do you now have enough staffing? What's the situation like now?
We are looking for accountants. So if you can find them, send them to me. We desperately need accountants in the auditor's office. The legislators have been good to give us some additional resources, but we've got to find the people to fill some of these vacancies. And I would point out that the type of work that some of these investigative audits especially take, we're looking for experienced people who want to work on a government salary. Any other questions? Okay, thank you all for coming today.